Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you can't tell by the title, I am participating in Becca from Becca and the Books' 48-hour readathon called Becca's Bookoplathon. That is a mouthful to try and say. And what that is essentially a 48-hour readathon where Becca releases the prompts as we go throughout the weekend. So we've already had 2, but because she uses her Bookopoly board, there's no way for you to set a TBR. It's all quite random and Becca gives you the prompts every 12 hours I think it is. So we had one at 12 AM yesterday or this morning. We've had one at 12 PM today. We're getting another one at 12 AM tomorrow morning and then another one at 12 PM tomorrow. So I know it sounds a bit confusing, but I will leave Becca's announcement video linked down below because she does a way better job than I do at explaining all of this. But like I said, she has already released the first 2 prompts, or rather 4 prompts, and I have chosen 2 out of that 4. And the first prompt was to either read a paranormal or magical realism book, or to read a book from a pile of chance cards. Now chance cards are basically what I just said. You have a load of different names of books written down on a piece of card, and then you could just sort through, pick one, and that's the book you'd read type of thing. Or people have been doing polls on Twitter where they've chosen 4 books that they want to read, or 2 books that they want to read and 2 books that they don't, and their followers have chosen their chance card that way. So it's been really fun, but I've been really trying to get better at cutting down on my own TBR this year, and so I went for the paranormal / magical realism book, and for that one I chose Wild Beauty by Anna Marie McLemore. I honestly didn't have a clue what this was going into it. I still don't really have a clue, to be honest with you, but it's essentially about a group of women that can't leave their house, or rather plot of land. There's this curse where if they leave they become very ill and eventually die, and there's also a second part to this curse, which is that if they fall in love too deeply, the person who they love completely disappears without a trace and are never seen again. The family is stuck in this one place, so we have grandmothers, mothers and daughters, and they can somehow grow flowers, so they can open their palm and a flower will bloom straight out of their palm type of thing, and so they tend to the gardens and make the place as pretty as they can, hence the stunning cover. But one day a boy appears out of nowhere, and this essentially makes some women believe that their loved ones might reappear. They're hoping he's some sort of sign, but of course they don't know anything about him, and he has no memory of his life before he woke up in this place. And this does just say here that this is a stunning exploration of love, loss and family. It's currently 4:20 in the afternoon on Saturday, and I'm only 150 pages into this book, so I am drastically falling behind. I really need to get this done. The only problem is that I have been in a bit of a reading slump lately, so I haven't been wanting to pick up books physically. I'd much prefer to listen to an audiobook or something like that, so I think that's one of the reasons why I've been a bit slower reading this. But I am just under the halfway point now, so hopefully if I sit down and power through I can get some of this done. I am enjoying it so far, but I am still a bit confused as to what is actually going on and what the story is, because at the minute we've just stayed in one place and not much has happened. So I'm very intrigued to see where the plot goes. Another little factor to note is that there is an FF romance in here. I don't think it's a spoiler, but at the start of this book we find out that 5 girls are actually falling for the same girl, and the 5 of them are aware that they all like the same girl, so that was interesting to see how all of them dealt with their feelings differently, and I do feel like that's going to play more of a role in the second half. I feel like this update is extremely rambly and I'm so sorry about that. It's literally just because I've been so bad at filming and updating you guys as I've gone along, but we have had huge issues today. Our television actually broke, so we've been trying to fix that for about an hour and it's not looking great, so there's been a bit of stress in this house today, but I'm hoping now I can unwind and sit down and read some more of this. But I do want to quickly note that Becca has released the second prompt for the readathon, and I'll just check the Twitter account quickly to make sure that I'm getting everything right. But again, there were 2 prompts that I could choose from. The first one that came up was viewer recommends, so a book recommended by your audience. If you don't have an audience you could also do the following, so a friend recommendation, Twitter recommendation, booktuber recommendation, or any book that you've been told good things about. And the second prompt is to read a culturally diverse book, so a book that's culturally different than your own experience, and this can be set in a different country, following marginalised characters, a translated book, or set in a fantasy world inspired by a real world country / culture. Out of those 2 prompts I've decided to go for the culturally diverse book, and for that I've decided to read a song Song Below Water by Bethany C. Morrow. This is actually Chloe from Books with Chloe's Patreon book of the month, so I did want to read this anyway and I'd planned on doing so this month, so this fits in brilliantly. So this is a story about black sirens, and I'll just read you what it says on the inside of the dust jacket because I feel like it sums it up beautifully. It says, "A Song Below Water is the story for today's readers. A captivating modern fantasy about black mermaids, friendship and self-discovery set against the challenges of today's racism and sexism." So I feel like this is going to be a very important read, and I feel like it's also going to discuss some heavy topics. So I am very excited to read this. I have actually just downloaded the audiobook on Scribd because, like I said, I have been struggling to read books physically, and I have also been listening to audiobooks whilst walking. So I think I'm going to put some headphones in and go for a walk around my village later and hopefully listen to a good chunk of this book. This one is just under 300 pages. It's only 286, so it shouldn't take me too long to get through this, and like I said, it's about mermaids, which is something I don't read about often, but when I do, I normally love those books. So yes, I feel like this will be a really good read. I feel like I can read both of these in the next few hours, hopefully before midnight, because that's when the third prompt is revealed. So I have a combination of about 400-ish pages left, 450, and I don't plan on doing anything else tonight really, so it shouldn't be a problem. However, whenever I say that, something always pops up, so let's hope we're okay for now. So what I'm planning to do first is I want to get to page 200 of this book. Then I think I'm going to go for my walk and listen to as much of this as I can. I'm going to come back, finish this book, and then read the rest of this book. I feel like that way I won't lose interest in either of them. I won't be bored, hopefully, and it'll make me want to pick these up more. So yeah, I'm going to start with this one, go for my walk, and I'll update you guys a little bit later on. Hello! I failed miserably yesterday and I didn't finish either book, but this morning I did sit down and I did finish Wild Beauty by Anna Marie McLemore. I ended up giving this a 3 stars. I didn't love it, didn't hate it. I enjoyed the overall story, but it was quite slow and I really didn't like the romance, which is nothing new for me. I tend not to like romances that much, but this one especially felt a bit out of the blue and everyone was just okay with it, and it was a bit strange, so that definitely threw me off a bit. And yeah, there was just 200 pages of build up and then everything happened quite quickly to wrap it up, and there wasn't that much of a satisfying conclusion. Like I said, I enjoyed the overall story, but I just wish there was a bit more and that the characters were a bit more fleshed out. You will have seen yesterday that I did end up going for my walk and I did manage to listen to 100 pages of A Song Below Water. I am enjoying it, but honestly I'm very confused. I keep mixing up the two main characters, and it's just because I believe one is a siren and one is pretending to be a siren or a mermaid or something like that. It's very confusing and I don't think I've had enough time to connect with either character or for them to have their own original voice yet. I don't quite get what's going on just yet, and I don't know if that's because I'm listening to the audiobook. I might try and pick it up physically later, but yeah, that's where I stand with this currently. I am going to go for another walk later. I'm going to try and make it another long one so I can get a good chunk of this read. I am almost halfway. Like I said, this is a very short book. It's just over 300 pages I think, or just under, so I'll probably get another 100 pages listened to on my walk, and then we'll see. I'll either sit down to read this physically tonight or I'll listen to the audiobook and colour in a colouring book or something like that. But as of today, it is Sunday and it is 10 to 2, so I am falling behind, but the last 2 prompts, or rather 4 prompts, have been revealed for Becca's Bookoplathon, and out of those 4 I have chosen 2. So prompt number 5 was to read a mystery or a thriller. And then prompt number 6 was to read a book that was gifted to you in some way or another. And so out of those 2 prompts, how could I not choose a murder mystery? If you guys have been following my weekly reading vlogs, you'll know that I have recently fallen in love with Agatha Christie's novels. They are all murder mysteries, I think, and they're just brilliant. They are very short reads, but they are extremely complex, and I feel like it's perfect for a readathon. I believe I've read an Agatha Christie book every single 24-hour type readathon that I've participated in, so this is quite fitting that I can get this onto my TBR for Becca's Bookoplathon. This is The Unexpected Guest, and this is actually a novelization by Charles Osborne. So I believe it was a play, but obviously it's been adapted into a novel because Agatha Christie is an extremely popular murder mystery writer, and I'm guessing that they decided to do that to make it more accessible to people, to share the story a bit further than it would have been just as a play. I don't know anything about this one, so I'll just read the back to you because I feel like that sums it up perfectly without spoiling, and I don't really want to know more going into this book. It says, when a stranger runs his car into a ditch in dense fog near South Wales coast and makes his way to an isolated house, he discovers a woman standing over the dead body of her wheelchair-bound husband, a gun in her hand. She admits to murder, and the unexpected guest offers to help her concoct a cover story. But is it possible that Laura Warwick did not commit the murder after all? And if so, who is she shielding? The house seems full of possible suspects. So yeah, don't want to know more. That's very intriguing to me, and I honestly can't wait to read this. Like I said, Agatha Christie's books are extremely short. This one is 160 pages, so I should fly through it, and I'm so glad that this was the prompt that we got, because obviously I didn't read anything yesterday and I was kind of panicking that I would fail the readathon, but I have renewed hope now that this came up because I normally fly through these books and I really enjoy my time reading them as well, so it's the best of both worlds at the minute. And then the last 2 prompts to choose between were to read a contemporary or romance book or to read a young adult fantasy. I am kind of cheating, but kind of not. I decided to pick up The Steel Prince by V.E. Schwab. This is a graphic novel, and it's actually a prequel to the Shades of Magic series by her. So this follows King Maxim, who is Prince Rai's father. And if you don't know, I did recently read the last 2 books in the Shades of Magic trilogy, and I fell in love. I absolutely loved them. And I've had this on my shelf for a while, but obviously because I hadn't finished the series, I couldn't read it. And now that I have, I can finally get to it, which I'm very, very excited about. So it is a young adult fantasy graphic novel, but it's not your typical YA fantasy book, if that makes sense. So that's why I feel like it's a bit of a cheat, but not really. I honestly don't know what it's about, but here's a glimpse of the artwork. I just think it's absolutely stunning, and I'm obviously going to fly through it because it's quite short. I've just realised I've been calling it a graphic novel, but I believe it's actually a comic. It is by Titan Comics, which, you know, makes sense. For some reason I just didn't pick up on that. But this is also very special to me because I did actually meet V.E. Schwab just as this came out, and I did manage to get it signed. So I feel like this will be a really nice way to close out the readathon. I'll be jumping back into a world that I love, but also experiencing a different format of V.E. Schwab's writing. Obviously this is a comic, and I think it's the first comic that she has ever released, so I am very intrigued to see what it's like. So the plan for today is that I'm going to sit down now and read some of this. I might be able to read it all in one sitting, we shall see, but at some point, if I don't finish this, I will put it down, I will go for another walk and read a bit more of A Song Below Water, and then after finishing both of those books, I will read The Steel Prince, and then this readathon will be over, and hopefully I will have read 4 books. I'm really annoyed at myself. I used to be really good at doing 24-hour readathons and staying up and reading the whole way through. Obviously this is 48 hours, so it's a bit different, but I've just done so badly yesterday. And like I said, as soon as I say I don't have anything to do and that I'm just gonna read, it doesn't happen. I actually took a bit of a break from reading further on in the night, and then Tom actually put on Castaway, which is a film with Tom Hanks in as the main actor, and I've never seen it before, and I did try and read and not pay attention to the film, but it's very intense and found my attention going back to it, and so I just put down my book and watched the film, which I'm a bit annoyed about, but I haven't watched a film in a while, and it was so nice to just sit down and chill and lose myself in it, because like I said, it is an intense film and I really enjoyed watching it. So yeah, that's what happened. I'm a bit annoyed at myself, but we're just gonna have to deal with it. Luckily, Becca's Bookopoly board was a bit nicer today, and I did manage to fit in some smaller reads, so hopefully I can finish everything that I started. But for now, I am just gonna sit down and read as much of this as I can, and I'll update you some point this afternoon. Hi guys, so I have just finished A Song Below Water by Bethany C. Morrow, but I do think I'm going to share my thoughts on this book with you tomorrow, just because it is currently 20 past 11. I don't know how well you can see that because my background is very light, so it might not show up, but trust me, it is. So I do kind of just want to jump into this now and try and get it done because this is my last read. Oh, and I completely forgot, I did finish The Unexpected Guest in one sitting, and then I went for a walk and finished this. I have finished every book except for this one, so without further ado, I'm just going to sit down now and fly through it. It's 10 to 12 and I have officially finished my last read for Becca's Bookoplathon, and oh my goodness, I am knackered, so I will update you guys with my final thoughts in the morning. Hi guys, so I am here to wrap up this vlog. It is the next day, but as you saw last night, I did manage to finish all 4 of my books for Becca's Bookoplathon, and I'm so happy that I managed to read so much in the second day. We all know that first one was a bit of a fail, but yeah, I did manage to finish all of these on the Sunday, which is brilliant. I didn't actually think to work out the page count, but I will do that quickly now. Okay, so I've just added up the page count and it is actually 916, which I'm so happy about. Considering on that first day I'd only managed to read about 200 pages of Wild Beauty and 800 pages of A Song Below Water, I really managed to catch up by reading these 2 books, so I'm chuffed with that. I've gotten 4 books off of my TBR, which again I think is brilliant. I did say at the start of this vlog that I'm trying to cut down on my own TBR throughout the year because I have way too many books that I've just been putting off for years, honestly, and so I do love these readathons because they do push me to read and to pick up books that I wouldn't normally want to pick up necessarily. So yes, I'm very happy about that. I did speak a lot about Wild Beauty throughout the vlog, so I'm not going to do that now. You've heard my thoughts on my rating, so I'll put this to one side and I'll tell you a bit more of my thoughts on A Song Below Water. I think this is a 3.5 stars for me. I did give it a 4 on Goodreads just because obviously they don't do half ratings, and so I bumped it up to 4 stars. But like I said, I was very confused at the beginning up until the halfway point more or less, and then everything wrapped up really quickly. I thought this could have been a lot longer and we could have had a bit more, I don't know, background information and character development. This is less than 300 pages, so there's not really room to go into all of that if you're trying to get the story across in that amount of pages, so I feel like that was very apparent. I did love both of the main characters though. I thought their friendship was just amazing. I truly loved reading about them and their different situations. This is definitely a book about Black Lives Matter and the Black Lives Matter movement. There is a protest in this that does show an unarmed black woman being attacked and taken into custody just for standing up and sharing her story, and in the middle of these protests they do turn into riots because the police come and start attacking people. So it is very reminiscent of what is going on in the world currently with the Black Lives Matter movement and the protests that we've seen in America and the police brutality that goes hand in hand with that. So that was definitely hard hitting but very impactful. You know, this is a book about real life situations and real world problems, but with that tiny fantasy twist on it to make it not as intense, maybe to, you know, make it more appealing towards people, because you go into this thinking it's a book about mermaids, but in reality it is a book about police brutality and the prejudice that black people face every day. So that was very impactful and I did really enjoy that. It was just the fact that it was so short and I feel like it could have been expanded so much, and that's what let it down for me, unfortunately. But I would highly recommend you pick this up. It is on Scribd as well. It won't take up too much of your time, and yeah, I think it's very eye-opening and it's also a really good story about friendship. So if you're into that, this would be the perfect book for you. Then I read The Unexpected Guest in one sitting. This was so good, but you can definitely tell that it was meant to be a play, or that it is the novelization of a play, because there are a lot of movements in here that would be stage directions in the actual play. There's a lot of he walked over to the chair and he did this, and then she walked over here, and then there's the fact that they do mostly stay in one room throughout throughout the whole thing. I don't think they ever leave that room actually. So that would be your set on stage. You'd have this one room and people would just come in and out and see different people, and that is very much what it was. Saying that, I did give this a 4 stars. Agatha Christie's mysteries are so complex considering how short her novels are, and this was a really good one, especially for a short read. There were a few different characters with a few different plot twists in here, and I think it was done really well, so I am glad that I read this. Not my favourite ever Agatha Christie because it is very reminiscent of a play, and so that did take away a little bit from the story, but other than that I am glad I read it, and I can't wait to continue reading Agatha Christie's works. And then lastly, I read The Steel Prince by V.E. Schwab. This one I gave a 3 stars. I haven't really read enough comics to rate them fairly, I don't think, so I'm not sure what you're meant to base your rating on. If it was the artwork, it would be a 5 stars because the artwork is just absolutely amazing, but the thing that let this down for me is that it wasn't detailed enough. It's very, I don't want to say basic, but it's very surface level. There's not the character depth that you would get from a full novel, which it's not the comic's fault, that is what comics are for, it's just to give you a quick and easy story. But yeah, I don't really feel like I know Maxim well enough yet, and I don't know, it might just be me and that I can't connect with comics as well as I can with novels, because I do love world building and character development and all that stuff, and we just don't get it in comics because that's not the point of them. I did like what went on in the comic and the situation that Maxim's in with this group of people and one person in particular, but I would have liked for it to be longer and for the conflict to be a bit more dragged out and then the confrontation to be a bit more hard-hitting. So it wasn't my absolute favourite, but I am going to carry on with the rest of them. I don't know when because I don't own them, but I will get to them soon. But yeah, please let me know down in the comments how you would rate comics or graphic novels or even manga, because I am finding it hard to do so just because I haven't read that much and I don't know what particular points you'd base your star rating on either. So yeah, help a girl out and leave it down below please. I would highly appreciate it so that when I do read more of these I can rate them fairly. And that is it for this video, guys. I had such a good time participating. Even though I flunked the first day, I managed to catch up and I read some really good books, so I'm very glad about that. Of course, thank you so much to Becca for coming up with this readathon and hosting it, because like I said, I had the best time. I'm sure everyone else had a good time too. From what I've seen on Twitter, it was very successful, so I cannot wait for more rounds. I will leave all of Becca's links and the link to the Bookoplathon Twitter account down below so you guys can check it all out for yourselves, and I highly recommend doing so. But that is it from me today, guys. Don't forget to like this video if you liked it, as well as clicking the subscribe button if you like to see more content from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. It truly means the world to me, and I will see you soon in my next video. Goodbye!